Welcome back to Frightmares video podcast edition. I'm your host, Austin Proctor, and joining me today for 2026 Backrooms is Cory Johnson.
Heyo, everybody. I'm lost.
I'm in a liminal space, and everything smells like moist carpet. So this is going to be, this is going to be an episode because not only are we talking about Backrooms, the movie, we got to talk about the lore behind it, how it came to be, because it starts all the way back in 2002. I rewatched the movie last night. I actually did a double feature of Obsession and Backrooms at my local AMC, which was
your poor mind and heart.
I was wrecked from Obsession again, and then went into Backrooms and got into this really heady space. It was a wild double feature. 10 out of 10 on that.
That's a wild way to watch you should have ended on Obsession to just really tie a bow on the night. Get real heady where you're thinking about stuff and then go into Obsession and be like, I should not have thought that much.
Well, what's funny is that I noticed, obviously, on the second time, you see a lot more. And since I had a clear head coming off of work, I noticed a lot of little details in Obsession. And then by the time I got to Backrooms, I was like, I was locked in. I'm looking for all the shit and all the stuff. So normally we would do, since this is going to be out on July 1st-ish, sometime around then, we'd usually do a June release. But really, nothing has come out in June outside of Leviticus, but I wasn't able to see that. And there have been a couple other minor releases, but there hasn't been anything nearly as huge as Backrooms and Obsession. So Cory and I decided to talk about Backrooms just because, like I said, it is a massive success, I believe.
And as much as we talked about it leading up to it, I feel like it did us justice. We were not blowing smoke up people's asses when it came to the hype train that we were very clearly aboard.
I saw one comment somewhere in the vast just toxicity of social media, and the comment was something along the lines of blah, 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 this was a cash grab. And I was like, okay, first of all, no, I don't think you know what a cash grab is. And second of all, a cash grab wouldn't involve the original creator of the Backrooms footage, an indie production company. It's you're wrong on literally all 1,000 levels of the Backrooms.
It seems like the only thing that Jason Blum and James Wan want to do is gamble their money on new IP. The past 2 years, they've just been fuck it.
Fuck it.
we ain't got to write it. Sign the check.
And what's interesting about the Backrooms, just as a whole, not even the movie itself, but Spencer, for example, when he saw the trailers for that, had no idea what it was, that there was all of this shit behind it.
Yeah, it's a niche-ass internet thing.
But he was even interested in it without the knowledge of anything prior. So that just goes to show you that even someone who doesn't know can be interested in this new idea, for a movie at least. So
yeah, Jessica was 100% on board from the teaser trailer. The sinking through the floor. She was like, "Oh, I'm on board for this 100%." Especially since it was Mark Duplass talking. She was like, well, "I know that voice."
What I really love too is I thought that was just a teaser shot for the movie. No, that shit is in the movie at one point towards the end. Yeah. And I was like, oh, this is even better. Because sometimes they'll just do a promo, to get you hype. But no, that was in the movie. That was in the movie.
Speaking of, oh my God, I know that voice. Quick little side tangent because it just happened to me before we started recording.
Go for it.
I get free games on PlayStation with PlayStation Plus. And
nice.
they put out a new Final Fantasy game. I think it's Final Fantasy 16 or whatever.
Oh
and
God.
This Final Fantasy wants to be Game of Thrones so bad. That's not the point. They have introduced to me a main character of this game, and this character begins talking, and I'm like, I fucking know this voice. Who is this? Pull up the trusty IMDb. It's fucking Ralph Ineson.
Oh, from The Witch.
Yeah, the dad.
Yeah, okay. Very, very distinct voice.
Yeah, I was like, this is and apparently like he does quite a bit of voice acting, but I was just like, this is a bizarre place to recognize your voice from. Like, this is ultra high fantasy, and I know you from like the saddest movie ever.
That is a pretty heartbreaking story. I can't lie. So yeah, we're gonna start at a place and end at a place. It's gonna be very much like the Backrooms, you know.
It's about the friends we make along the way.
Right, exactly. So it's gonna be one hell of an episode here. I'm trying to do something fun if my computer will allow me to. But I'm not finding the image I want, so stay tuned. Oh, there we go. That's what I want. All right. So we're going to start where literally the Backrooms, I mean, technically the Backrooms started here, but at the same time they didn't. So the image we all know, if you know anything about the Backrooms, the image we all know that started the whole thing in 2019 was actually taken in 2002 in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Funny enough, at a furniture store, so it's no surprise that, you know, Kane chose a furniture store to kind of set this movie in. But it was taken by a man that I thought, I had the man's name, but then I was researching it again and couldn't find a name, so I don't know. But the photo's origin had been lost, like where it had come from, until someone investigated it in 2024, located a Backrooms dedicated Discord community, tracing the image to an archived webpage from March 2003 using something called the Wayback Machine. And the home furnishing store was on 807 and 811 Oregon Street in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Now, and then in 2003, it was acquired by a new tenant. They are, what do they do? They fucking Hobby Town, and they do like radio controlled car races there now. But the photograph depicts a carpeted one room with yellow wallpaper, fluorescent lighting, kind of a Dutch angle, and this image would go on to inspire the Backrooms. Now, that was taken in 2002. It doesn't resurface, and well, I say resurface, but it doesn't start going anywhere until 2019 when it appeared on a 4chan board, and the description that came along with it was, if you're not careful and you no-clip out of reality in the wrong areas, you'll end up in the Backrooms. Nothing but the stink of old moist carpet, the madness of mono yellow, the endless background noise of fluorescent lights at maximum hum, and approximately 600 square miles of randomly segmented rooms to be trapped in. God save you if you hear something wandering nearby, because it is sure as hell heard you. So that is when again, what did we say this was? Is this a creepypasta? Is this a, like, what are we going with on this?
So by like pure definition of creepypasta, yeah, technically, because creepypasta is just a different version of the old memification of something called copypasta, which is you find some ridiculous message that somebody typed on a message board somewhere, and it then becomes an in-joke in the community with where it's being posted. Like, I've seen it's like a Marine post, and like somebody will say something on 4chan that like disagrees with somebody else, and then the person who they disagreed with would come back with a copypasta of, do you know who I fucking am? I'm a Marine with 400 confirmed kills, blah 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 blah, and it's a whole thing, and then and then that person will do the same thing, and it's just, so there's a bunch of those type of things, and creepypasta was just that, but with spooky things. A very, very popular OG creepypasta would be something like, but who was phone? That would be a creepypasta. I don't have it pulled up at the moment, but it's like a horribly misspelled grammatical nightmare of a post that so it's a play on the call is coming from inside the house.
Okay, gotcha.
Except it boils down to, but who was phone? But who was the person calling?
Okay.
So that's how it like goes that far back.
All right.
But then you get to stuff like the Backrooms, which that one post happens, and then it goes through, it gets pushed off the board for more popular things, and then the post keeps reemerging over time, and it starts to spark people's interest. The most notable person, arguably, being Kane Parsons.
Right. So why don't you delve into your kind of the levels that were spawned from the 4chan board post, because Kane's stuff doesn't come in until about 3 years later.
Right.
In 2022.
So the in the About Us section of the website that I went to, now I had to make a critical choice when it came to my research. Number one, because I only had like 2 full business days to delve into what you asked me to delve into.
I did
and then
ask
additionally,
a lot.
within those 2 business days, I was doing other things as well. So now, I chose the first Google search of the 2 because when you type in Backrooms levels, the top 2 searches are Backrooms Wiki on Wikidot and Backrooms Fandom on .wiki. So that's fun. The other thing about this is it's all user-generated content, very much in the same vein as like SCP stuff. So
That's the one. I was thinking CCR, but I was like, no, that's Creedence Clearwater Revival.
yeah, SCP, Secure,
SCP.
Contain, Protect.
There we go.
Very similar in that vein. Like there's a generally accepted like mega basic lore, and then from that people write and submit their own
Oh my god.
stories, field logs, like experimental data, and it's a gigantic, seemingly endless depth of fan fiction in a general universe. That being said, all the information I'm about to present right now, I take no responsibility on if it falls into the correct canon or not from the fan base. Speaking of canons, there are seemingly dozens upon dozens of accepted canons within their own thing. So there's like the canon of this entity and the canon of that thing. And like, it's all a bunch of interconnected levels. Like some of the writers are friends in real life, so they interwove their shit together. And then like some person just wrote in that they went from that person's level into the level they're writing right now. So it like, you can choose to weave in the levels to other things.
That is insane. How many levels? You sent me a picture, and I think there was 1,000 different levels, something like that.
Yes. So I'm going to get into some of that right now. This is going to be some quoted text from the beginning of the page under the levels section. In universe, normal levels form the framework of the Backrooms and vary greatly in size, danger, and habitability. Typical levels for whatever value of typical can be expected from the Backrooms tend to be infinite in size, though bounded levels are not unheard of, and often provoke a feeling of uncanny familiarity to those happening upon them. The liminal space type thing.
Okay.
The laws of physics and nature as we know them cannot be relied on in the depths of the Backrooms. Nevertheless, some of the more hospitable and stable levels are home to thriving communities. Some inhabitants have managed to survive in even the most dangerous levels.
I mean, that's kind of a theme in the 2026 movie where Clark is he's not doing well mentally, but he is
But
surviving.
he's down there.
But he's down there living, eating the fucking people down there.
It continues.
Man.
Levels often contain subsections. Some are as small as rooms, others are important landmarks, and some are vast areas that may look completely different than the main level. However, all of these are still contained in their parent level. Entrances and exits to each level are cataloged to the best of our ability, as making a hasty retreat is often necessary. An important tip to remember is that the levels are occasionally prone to instability. Keeping this in mind, documentation of any level is subject to change without warning. Levels denoted with the bracket "no data" have not been sufficiently cataloged. If you have eyewitness documentation of any of these levels, please contribute your findings to the database. So they're laying out like, hey, this is all user generated. A bunch of the 0 to the 999 99999. Like I clicked on the 99999 one, and there was a bunch of them that were no data.
Interesting. Okay.
There was one in like the 700s or 800s that's just a story of a man that has been trapped down there so long that he's writing out his own contemplation of suicide. Like,
holy shit.
It is vast and endless.
Right on par. I mean, it's right on par with exactly what the Backrooms are. It's crazy that
now
wow.
Get into how the general classifications of levels breaks down. And this is the one commonality I've seen, because like I could not sit and read short novels worth of content on all of these. I cannot explain to you. Like, I clicked on the first level 0, like 18 pages worth of shit.
And I didn't
because level 0 has 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, and all of those have all different accounts of shit. And so
I didn't know it went that deep. I just remember you mentioning. I was like, oh yeah, there is the lore with the levels. Like,
and I did not know it went this deep either. Like, I had the most shallow surface level. Like, I had a puddle's worth of knowledge going into this, and my puddle has not expanded that much. But levels have a class of survival difficulty, as well as ratings for safety, security, and info on suspected entities. Because remember, there are things that are essentially native to the Backrooms in the Backrooms. Like, humans are the trespassers for most of the time.
Right.
So, for example, in level 0, it has a survival difficulty class 1. That means it's safe, secure, and has a minimal entity count. Whereas if I were to pick a totally random level, like level 49, it has a difficulty class of 4. This makes it unsafe, unsecure, and a high entity count. The levels that this wiki displays to you have a vast range of biomes, which we will get into here momentarily, entities, which we will also get into here momentarily, and survivability ranges from completely safe to basically suicide. With all of that preamble out of the way, let's now dig into just a handful of levels, getting deeper as we go, but with no particular level chosen for any particular reason, except for level 0. Level 0 is the level that we all know and love. The labyrinthine, mildew-soaked corridors, pungent, damp carpets, bathed throughout in the hum of fluorescent piss-yellow lights, Kane brought us here. He left us here. This is the Backrooms that we know in the movie where the movie takes place.
Gotcha.
Now, there is one main difference to level 0 that I will get to here in a moment. But it is unknown whether or not entities exist in level 0. If they do, they're also likely subjected to the isolation effect. While none have been directly reported, wanderers have claimed to see dark figures stalking them between the halls in the yellow hell of corridors. Now, the phenomenon aptly named the isolation effect, which was just referenced,
yes,
has been observed in those trapped in level 0. Even if two individuals enter level 0 side by side, they will never be able to find one another. All attempts to communicate, be it shouting, leaving notes, marking paths, or damaging walls, will be met with failure. This level is truly an obstacle that one must face alone. Now that is the main and seemingly only difference between Kane's Backrooms and this level 0 of Backrooms.
Whoa.
But other than that, the main reference photo on the wiki is the 2002 yellow room. Like,
right.
that's what level 0 is supposed to be, but it's supposed to be in this universe, I guess. It's supposed to be like the proving ground to see if you can even make it to the Backrooms level 1. It also seems as if it's now, and I haven't gone to 0.1, 0.2, so I don't know if you go up or down the stairs, things change a little bit.
Yeah, that's a little too deep. It's too deep.
Survive long enough in the flickering hell that is level 0. This will lead you to level 1, where you will find the first fragments of humanity that inhabit this world.
Okay.
Level 1 is known as a habitable zone, a class 1 zone. This place, unlike the yellow hellish halls of level 0, is a much more complex and deadly area, as it is home to various creatures and phenomena that you aren't used to yet. However, you will also find resources such as food and water, and there will even be like settlements of people hanging out that will help you stay safe, most of it. Obviously, people are people, so you can only trust some of that. The Backrooms isn't only made up of anomalous landscapes and hooky spooky vibes. It's a whole ass ecosystem filled with unhinged creatures you've never seen before, nor do you want to see before or again. Some of them are neutral towards humans. Some can even be helpful, but most are predators. They represent an active, mobile, and deadly threat that will get you if you're not careful.
Wow.
Just some of the level 1 entities include arms. They come out of vents and cracks during lighting blackouts, and the art is essentially just like demon arms coming out of walls. It's just spooky arms. You've got these things called dullers. They are humanoid kind of smokish monsters that no clip as a means of ambushing people. So, like, you'll see one, you'll close the door, and they'll just, like, phase through the door.
No!
Yeah.
No!
So, sort of how, like, you fell into the Backrooms, that's just how they mobilize.
Yeah.
And then you've got growlers. Sentient creatures made of cable. They are very high strength and low intelligence. Imagine like a really CTE-ridden gorilla. Like it's angry, it doesn't know why, but it has the strength to solve its own problem.
Yeah, that is in Kane's lore, that is known as the life form, and that's the thing you see in just found footage, his first Backrooms installment. It's the thing that's walking kind of like a human, but not really. It's just
with the kind of klaxon thing on its head.
Yeah. It's very, so that's kind of similar-esque to some of Kane's stuff. Oh my God. I'm just
all right. We are not done. We got how many more levels do I got? Because I need you and the listeners to understand like the depths and diversity of which these go.
Sure.
All right.
Why don't we do rule of three? Is two more and then, or unless you, how many do you have?
No, it's just two more and a little bit of closing.
Done.
All right.
Perfect.
So we're jumping way down. We went from level 1 and we're jumping all the way down to level 70 because I'm just picking shit at random.
I love it.
Level 70 is a class 4 level, more commonly known as Freudentown. It is a snowy planetoid object that expands for roughly 49,520 square kilometers, covered entirely by a modern North American city, similar to Toronto or Winnipeg. Although it is known for its harsh environment, certain parts have become home for some. Smilers are common here. Smilers are creepy, glowing, animalistic faces that are attracted to light and noise. I see your face. If that isn't bad enough, you might have to contend with, in the snow, these things called skin stealers. That doesn't need an explanation.
Do they explain it, or do they just leave it at skin stealers? I mean, I get it.
They steal the skin of their previous victim to lure you in to thinking it's a person, but you can it's like this big humanoid object that just has like skin draped over it. Yeah, no, it's terrifying.
God.
And then a quote from the general info of settling on level 70. As mentioned in the article prior, a key part of surviving this level is the settlement within buildings. Settlement allows you to escape the endless winter and to live another day. The section of the article will serve as a how-to for those who don't know what they're doing. And then it goes on for pages about what type of buildings are safe to stay in, how to tell if there's an entity staying in those buildings, what type of buildings to avoid, if there are people there, what signs to look for to go into the building with people. It's lore upon lore upon lore. And if I had the time, like, this would be my new obsession, but I don't have the time. Last level. Well, not the last level, but the last level I'm going over.
All right, where are we going?
All the way down to 603.
Okay.
Level 603 is an environmental class 2. It's got a low entity count, but is classified for its hazardous environmental conditions. Level 603 is a large landscape filled with various geographical and man-made features in multiple Western countries, such as power lines and like big old factories off the side of the road, and just like general infrastructure is kind of the vibe. Like, imagine infrastructure in the Midwest of America. And for those of you listening not in America, Google it. You'll get it.
Yeah, we all have Google at our fingertips at this point.
The level's rolling countryside contains mountains, valleys, flatlands, adorned with farm pastures, forests, prairies with rivers, cutouts that carve their way across. The level lacking physical variation in its landscapes feels incredibly monotonous. Only having geographical landmarks like rivers, orchards, valleys, or mountains that exist in close proximity. All of that is always in close proximity to hundreds of power lines that go across the level. The pylons have interstate roads and dirt pathways running parallel. They never seem to deviate from being under or near them. So they're always just like somewhere within being next to them. The lack of resources seems to be from like, yeah, there's rivers, but there's no telling if it's like potable. There are orchards, but there's not telling that there's any fruit. There doesn't seem to be like shelters. Like, yeah, there are factories, but you can't you can't get into them. It's just like, imagine everything is just like a facade, it seems.
What the fuck?
So in closing, the lore and writings of these users is vast. There is a whole human history's worth of writings contained on this website. There's, like I said before, there's multiple canons linking all kinds of levels across the Backrooms universe. There is even a Backrooms multiverse canon. So, like, in this universe, there is a multiverse, and a bunch of people agree that it's a thing. Kane Parsons' Backrooms is just a solid addition to a corner of the internet that likes to write stories for their own and for others' enjoyment. And that's all I got to say about that.
I don't even... some of these levels do you
understand why you kept saying, oh, we'll just do it this way? And I'm like, no, but it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, I didn't understand. I didn't realize.
I was like, I have to make it come across like how it makes sense, but I'm also just diving into this with like no real knowledge. So I've got to establish how this works. Then I have to understand it. Then I have to write about it.
Oh my God, that was a tall order that I did not realize I was asking for. I mean,
that's why when I sent you that screenshot, I was like, dear Jesus. Like,
that's why I was like,
this was an undertaking that I like, Sisyphusian in order.
Well, I was like, I see little blocks like 0 to 100, just like highlight each one. And you're like, no, but you don't understand. Every single level is different. I'm like, how is this possible? And like in the levels that are cityscapes and mountains and shit, where's the exit? If you find yourself, what is happening?
Some of these levels that I was looking at, I was like, I'm not scrolling this far down to figure out what the exit is.
That's crazy.
Like, I ended up here. I'm fucking stuck here. I'm dying here. Like, that's just what it is.
That's the real. Wow. Woo. Oh man, that's deep. That's vast.
And like, and then just real quick, then you can get to like level 901, and it's just a giant mattress store. And there's really nothing really untoward about it. There are these entities called the Tuckers, and they sing a creepy lullaby, but they don't get you, and you're allowed to just sleep there and move on. Like, it's like level 0 of the Backrooms, but it's just like set up beds, like just rows. Like, imagine the Indiana Jones warehouse, but beds. Yeah. And that's what it is. And these creepy disembodied voices singing terrible spooky lullabies at you all.
Oh, they're not
the entire time.
They're not corporeal. They're just dissident voices.
I didn't get that far into the thing about it. All I saw were Tuckers are these things that sing creepy lullabies. And I'm like, oh, and I think it said from the shadows, and I'm like, all right, great, cool.
Well, if that.
And some of this writing, like you're reading it, and because it's all, I'm not going to say all, a lot of the stuff that I read was written from like a journalistic, and not like, ooh, I'm a journalist reporting. It's like, ooh, I am recording things in my diary that are happening while I am out in here.
It's like Bram Stoker's Dracula, but not boring.
Yeah, but not letters.
But not letters. Yeah.
Yeah, but not letters.
Sorry.
So like you are experiencing what this person is going through. It's very Flowers of for Algernon.
All right. Well, if that didn't completely melt your brain like it did mine, we're going to continue with much simpler lore because I did not comprehend the what's a bigger word than vast? Whatever that is.
Magnanimous.
Sure. Holy shit. So after, I guess kind of in between all of these compilations of levels, you have Kane hopping onto the scene. In 2022, he released his first short film entitled The Backrooms Found Footage, January 7th of that year. Now, there are currently, as of yesterday when I checked, 22 Backrooms total videos that he has done.
Does that count the unlisted ones as well?
Yes. So he did a lot in 2022, and those are really I would say the core story. All of the other ones are kind of just you can get into it, but
he essentially, for those that know what this is, he essentially, while writing, producing, and 3D modeling this whole story himself.
Yeah, and Blender.
He is also at the same time developing almost a ARG. Like it's so close to ARG scape that it might as well be, because he's like, oh, this unlisted video, and then this unlisted video takes you to this other channel, and it's like it's an Easter egg hunt but with YouTube videos.
Yeah, so he's pretty prolific on YouTube with that, has millions of followers and views. So where this all starts with Kane's lore is a place called Async Research Institute, also known as Async Foundation, or simply just Async. It is a private research institute based in San Jose, California. Hardly any information is known about the company other than the fact that they started producing MRI machines. That's how their company started, was producing MRI machines, which is actually mentioned by Mark Duplass at the end of the movie. The Backrooms series keeps its focus on the KV-31 division. Prior to KV-31, Async specialized. I already had it written down. I didn't think that. They just simply MRI machines, blah, blah, blah. This was discontinued after they opened the doorway to the complex or the Backrooms. There's many names that this has, but essentially the doorway is also known as the threshold as well. So Project KV-31 is a dimensional and electromagnetic engineering program developed by Async Research Institute in the 1980s for the purpose of creating limitless storage and residential space using the highly experimental low-proximity magnetic distortion system. Now, what is that? Well, it is a system which uses magnetic waves to create holes in reality known as thresholds. KV-31 was designed to create a stable portal into this so far unseen dimension to allow rapid travel, storage, residential, and industry. So far, it's not stated if KV-31's machinery is still active or if its threshold is stable. However, Async did install a shutter to block off the threshold by the time of motion detected, which is one of Kane's short films where they set up a camera in the back rooms and one of the life forms notices the camera. So I'd shorten this because it's too long. The LPMDS system works using electromagnetic waves, which said in a presentation would rapidly compress with pressure to a point where the reality would begin to create holes or null zones or thresholds beyond reality towards the back room. The machine would have to use a lot of electricity and electromagnetic field generators, which would create so much pressure that it would shake the entire Async research facility, as shown with test number 6, another video of Kane's with the machine. The system constantly emits a ringing sound that lets researchers know how far away from the threshold they are. Now, the development of this started back in 1982. They made their first prototype, and nothing really happened for about 10 years, because then we jumped to April 2nd, 1988, where they tested the KV-31 for the third time. Then we jump to First Contact, which is the sixth test, one of Kane's videos. That is when the gateway is opened on October 17th, 1989, which would then cause earthquakes in South California. People started vanishing, and then the test success would also have some negative side effects. People falling and phasing through surfaces and ending up in the backrooms, aka found footage, where the guy literally no clips and just falls into the backrooms.
And this could also be considered where the levels from my side of the Backrooms universe starts as well.
Correct.
So Kane actually gives you a preamble to how this even actually starts.
Right. So these dates are important coming up, right? So February 3rd, 1990, Async finds a body in the backrooms, which is documented in a video. And then February 29th, 1990, the informational video takes place. And this is where the first time jump happens as well, because a researcher went out into the backrooms not to show up until a later date. March 5th, 1999 rolls around. Async sets up the cameras and motion detected takes place where the life form spots whatever Async is observing in the backrooms. March 11th, 1990, clips for the archive.tar are taken, but not assembled until a later date. May 6, 1990, the Pitfalls short and report take place. Then on May 8th, the Starts Department. The States Department, not Starts. The States Department shows up to Async, and that is when the presentation takes place. Also, the guy who disappears in the informational video shows back up. So he time traveled about 3 or 4 months, or was lost in time and space and then showed back up. And then June 1991 is when the archive.tar images were compiled. Now, in the movie, June 19th, 1990 is when this movie is set, because that date is shown on the camera at the beginning of the Backrooms movie. So that takes place right after the archive.tar images were compiled. And then 6/29/1990 is when Mark Duplass spots Clark in the Backrooms. So let me make sure I'm checking my shit here. Yeah, so that happens, and then July 4th, 1991 is when found footage was recorded. So just 14 days after Clark went into the Backrooms, the found footage that Kane did was I guess, recorded, made, whatever you want to call it. There's a little timestamp you can see at the bottom of that one. And then that footage wasn't found until 5 years later on September 23rd, 1926. So it's some sort of time travel again, where the camera falls out of the Backrooms, but the guy does not. And it falls out of the Backrooms on September 23rd, 1996. So there's also some time travel happening in the Backrooms at some point. They don't go into that in the movie, I don't think, but there is a little bit, like I said, time travel going on. So that's cliff notes of Kane's work. I did as little as I could because I didn't want to drown everybody out, because I knew yours was gonna,
making sure my brain wasn't melting out of my ears.
Yeah. So that's kind of the timeline of Kane's work. And like I said, there's 22 videos total, but the ones I'm mentioning are like the landmark videos and stuff like that. So I find it interesting that the movie takes place, or at least it starts with the Backrooms footage, June 19th, 1990, where the guy, and I love how the movie starts with the blender shots of the guy in the hazmat suit. Is that what that is?
Yeah, we'll call it a hazmat suit.
And it's really interesting because, if I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe that I'm seeing this on a big screen right now. This is nuts. And he's running around, clearly running from something. And eventually he runs into this area where I guess they have, and this is what I don't know, they have this area set up for communication, but I don't necessarily know, like, what was he trying to communicate with the people that were just beyond the threshold? I don't know. That first setup I didn't really fully understand, but I'm assuming it'll be explored later, possibly.
Yeah, I'm kind of split between Maybe it was they took all that equipment in with the intent of like setting up like communications between the two so that things just go easier in there. Because if you can have like a radio relay, then you can take like a handheld radio out and it'll be like there's communication. Sure, I get it. But then part of me also thinks that maybe all of that was assembled in the Backrooms by one of them as an attempt to, like, the scientist, he was there for however many months.
Right.
So maybe he put it together, tried to get communication out, and it didn't work, which I think is where the fucking caveman comes from, is he wants to have something with every language so he can be like, yo, I'm friendly, come in here, come find me.
Oh yeah, that's true. I was wondering what that was, honestly. But
that's what I think it is.
Okay. Well, in the opening shot of the Blender footage, the guy that's exploring eventually goes around the corner. He sees the pirate ship, steering wheels, fucking whatever they're called. And then he sees the no credit, no problem. And he's like, what the fuck? So my kind of theory is that since this is taking place around the time where people are going missing, portals are opening up, he is experiencing one of these portals opening up because it's clearly the Backrooms replicating the furniture store. So I'm assuming he's close to the furniture store as he's seeing pieces from that furniture store around. And then that whole bird thing happened, which completely fucked my shit up. When the bird pops out of nowhere, no clips into the Backrooms, and then just fucking hits like a wall and then flies off. I was like, okay, that's new, but it didn't feel out of place because I was like, this is the Backrooms. You can no clip.
Yeah, because nothing feels out of place and everything feels out of place at the same time. It is a perfect interactable feeling of liminal space.
Right. Anything can happen. Anything goes. So that's kind of the setup for this movie. And there's so much. I don't even know where to start with this movie. I guess I'll start with Kane being able to somehow coherently tell a story along with the Backrooms. It's not just some guy gets lost in the Backrooms and can't find his way out. There is a compelling story that is happening while Clark is discovering the Backrooms. And you really get a depth of his character throughout the entire movie, as well as the main chick. I can't remember her name. I did not write her name down. She looks like Caitlin Deaver, but she's not Caitlin Deaver. But both of them, I'd say, are really the main characters. You do have the two
therapist.
Yeah. I'm looking up her name now. I can't remember what her name was called. Kate, maybe? Fucking Mary. Yeah, close enough. So you get a lot of them, of course. She is his therapist, and he is working through a lot of stuff. He was an alcoholic, I guess technically still is an alcoholic, has lost everything. And something I find interesting is that the conversation that they have in the very beginning of the movie starts off with Clark saying, being alone isn't so bad. And that's exactly how he ends up at the end of the movie. So it's this weird loop and she's like, I didn't say you were alone. I said you were lonely. But then at the end of the movie, he's alone still. He has those things around him, those life forms that the Backrooms has tried to recreate, but really can't get it right. But I love how kind of cyclical the plot is by starting with that and ending with that, because by the end, he's still alone. And he's in this vast nothingness where he's eating the people that are around him and for some reason drinking milk out of the fridge, which backs up your whole thing you mentioned a long time ago. Crazy people drinking the milk. I've seen that everywhere. Even
19 to 21-year-old Kane Parsons, who probably has never heard that theory ever before in his entire life, did it too.
And it's even crazier is the fact that the image for the Backrooms, I think I mentioned this already, was taken before he was even born. That's crazy to me.
But
So,
hey, man, the trite saying of art imitates life. I mean,
you're not wrong. Let me scroll through my notes here because I took way too many. But okay, so I think for me, one of the most obvious readings of the Backrooms is that it represents emotional stagnation because every major character is trapped in some way before they enter the complex, the Backrooms. Clark is a failed architect who has settled into a life that feels smaller than the one he imagined. Mary is carrying unresolved guilt and baggage. They're already wandering through their own psychological mazes before entering a literal supernatural maze. So the Backrooms feels like the Backrooms externalizes that feeling, I think, because everything that they're going through is internal in their own heads, and then they have to go through it physically, which I feel is I feel Kane did that intentionally, but part of me is like he's 20. Like, how are you so smart at like this kid is so well spoken, he is so professional, and when asked certain questions, just the way he responds, I'm like, he is an old soul. There is no way.
He traded his soul to the devil to be able to do what he's doing.
I mean, seriously, because he just how well the story is told beyond the Backrooms is so goddamn compelling.
Also, real quick, I just want to joke on. I want to joke on Clark for a minute.
Go for it.
No shit, he's a failed architect.
Right.
Because everybody continuously complained that his furniture was trash, and you see him sitting in a chair that falls apart. Architecting and making furniture, not that different. You got to make a solid building. If you can make a solid building, you can make a solid chair. So I'm just saying, he should have understood where his lane was.
You're not wrong there. Clark is an interesting character, though. And part of me wonders, honestly, like, because the Backrooms are just such this weird place. Did we ever see, I had a thought. It's like, have we ever seen the real Clark, or have we seen this version of Clark? Because he's bouncing in and out of the Backrooms. And that begs the question. The question that haunts me is, can the Backrooms create a version of you without you entering the Backrooms? Do you have to enter the Backrooms for them to start kind of assimilating you? Or is it just something that kind of radiates outwards and starts compiling itself on the inside?
I do not think it is an annihilation situation, no.
Okay.
I think the requirement is you have to accidentally no clip in there. Okay. Or in Clark's case, you have to intentionally no clip in there.
Right.
Because it doesn't exist outside of that wall in his store. And it, like, yeah, you get the power surges, but it never seems to radiate out further than the boundary that the movie has set. Okay. So I'm guessing with Async experiments and the absolute damage they did to reality with magnets, I think that you get these little pocket, for lack of a better term, pocket wormholes that allow things to go through. Like I'm pretty sure even in one of the, actually probably in a few of the YouTube Backrooms that Kane did, there's like cars lodged places and stuff. And like, so people are just fucking driving and just slipping through. And some of them only stay open for a minute. Some, in Clark's case, are ever present. So I think things have to go into them for the Backrooms, like, sidecar malignancy to take place.
Because I asked that question only because he enters the Backrooms for the first time, goes way further than he fucking should have. I remember watching it the first time, like, bro, you are going way too far with no knowledge of what's happening.
Jessica and I leaned over to each other at the same time without looking at each other. And both in tandem said, I would have been lost by now.
I would have been so lost. But of course, it's the natural human instinct of morbid curiosity. Like, this is either a dream or this is real, and I have to know what I'm seeing. So he ventures down, again, way further than I would, and eventually comes to that little cardboard cutout and goes to the room. There's a camera that Mark Duplass eventually sees him on later. He tries to tug at it, pull on the door, nothing happens. And then that's when he finds the bag. He finds the identification card of someone, crawls through the fucking hole like, brother, no, why are we doing this? Yeah. And then by the time he gets to the other side and sees his chair that he sat in and fell, he hears something, and that something breaks the cardboard cutout, and I assume comes after him. So it's like, was that the pirate version of him already, or was it something else that we didn't even see? Because the only monster we see in the Backrooms is the giant pirate version of Clark. Did the Backrooms assemble that quickly? I don't know.
So I like to think, just based on the one camera shot where Clark is walking and he turns around and the camera is lifting way above his head.
Yeah.
I like to believe that it's the entity in its original form, that just like wiry, no real form. It's it's just like a stick thing, but made of cables and wires. I like to think it's that, and as it spent time stalking Clark, it was able to feed off of his mentality and take the form of giant, hooky, spooky Captain Clark Pirate Man.
Well, that makes sense, too, because if you think about it, right, Clark spends the better part of, he says a time frame, I think a few weeks. I know he tells his therapist at one point he spent the weekend, about 3 or 4 days, mapping out some of the Backrooms. But by the time he brings in the, I guess, assistant manager or whatever, and the boyfriend with the camera, he's been doing this for weeks. Like, he has been mapping out, he has been going there. So I like to think, I guess, kind of like my little theory is, the more time you spend in the Backrooms, the more time the Backrooms has to create a more complete version of you. Because every other person we see, the 3 people, the wheelchair guy, the lady, and the guy with like 14 eyes, they are obviously not nearly as put together as giant pirate Clark. He looks the most human, albeit horrifying.
I'm starting to make a connection just now.
Let's do this.
Just now, these synapses have fired.
Let's go.
Yes, it is because he kept going in there so many times. Because what did Async make first?
The DCM?
No,
MRI machines.
And what do MRIs do? They use magnets to take images of you. And the more times the magnet passes, the better the image is.
Oh my God.
So you're walking through a magnetic portal all of these fucking times.
Yeah. That has to be what it is. And the people that are not fully put together either entered a portal like Clark did and said, fuck this, I'm out, and that was just enough time for them
to got stuck there,
or got stuck there and died.
And that's when the fucking bacteria growth shit starts,
right?
Which is probably then what makes you either into a weird puppet thing or an entity.
That makes sense, because if you think about it, if you go in there and you get lost, you'll die within 7 days if you can't find food or water. That is a fact. You cannot survive. Actually, if you don't have food or water, you might die quicker. So the length of time you would be in there before you die is substantially less than how much time Clark has spent in the Backrooms constantly mapping things out. So that tracks perfectly. The longer you're in there, the longer the Backrooms has time to make this version of you. Oh, that is making a lot of sense.
I was making a lot of sense. You were talking, and I, like, my brain was just firing. I was like, wait, copy? What's a copy but an image? What are images? Magnets? Magnetic radial MRI. Oh my god!
And they even, like I said, even Mark Duplass mentions that we used to do MRI machines until we opened this threshold, and they actually do an MRI of Mary. You see, they have a couple flashing images while they're taking her into, beyond the threshold after she gets rescued, even though that guy blows something in her face. I assume it's an agent that'll kind of knock you out. And then the thing that haunts me the most about that ending interaction with Mark Duplass's character and Mary is she says, "What's going to happen to me?" And Mark says, "I'm not advised to answer that. Like, it's above my pay grade." So it's like, okay, so are you just going to leave me in here to figure out what happens to people if you just leave them in? Like, and then you get that last image of, oh, there is a copy of Mary in the Backrooms. Now, is that the copy that they could make while she had spent the time in there? Or, it's so many questions. Has that just been Mary the entire time? What, I mean, oh my, that ending fucked my shit up. I can't wrap my head around.
Yeah,
it fucked me up.
And my problem with the ending is like, all right, you're gonna give us the explanation of what happened without giving us the explanation, because you're gonna explain it by saying the things you are not able to do.
Right.
How did you make that make sense? I'm insulted and amazed at the same time.
Well, right, because like the ending, and this is a theory that there's a couple theories out there. I mean, there's many, but I tracked down 4 that I liked, and this was kind of a darker one because the room at the end looks almost normal, right? And that's important. Throughout the film, the Backrooms constantly create near-perfect replicas of real places. So what if Async isn't real, even though we know it is? Phil isn't real. The rescue isn't real. Mary may simply be trapped in the most convincing simulation yet. The final still Mary could be evidence that we're still inside the maze. The movie never explicitly confirms that her return to the world is genuine, because the room she's in when she's talking to Phil has the same shape as the room that we see Still Life Mary in. So, is she stuck in there and thinking she's out? Is it one of those, not to spoil this movie, but if you haven't seen 47 Meters Down, one of those things where she thought she got out, but she didn't, it's like, what are we actually seeing play out here?
I honestly do not think that Kane is that tropey, because
I don't think so either.
I remember an interview where him saying, like, everything that got placed in that movie got placed there for a reason. Right. If you see a pillar, it's because I wanted that pillar to be there for a reason. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it's as hackish as, oh, but she's still in the simulation, or it was all a dream the whole time. I don't think it's that simple. I think there's, because just like you said, and I think we have both seen the same interview where Kane's like, yeah, no, I have a whole book worth of
70 pages.
I have like 70 pages worth of things, just the ideas that I am working on toward this universe.
All right, well, let me hit you with a couple other theories, and let me see what you think about the ending, because so let's, what happens at the end? The most straightforward answer, right? Clark is no longer truly Clark by the time Mary finds him. He is not the same person. The Backrooms have been copying people, places, and memories. The still life entities are flawed recreations of reality. Mary escapes with Async's help, theoretically. However, the final shot of still life version of Mary sitting in a distorted copy of the room implies that the Backrooms has already begun reproducing her as well. So the key question becomes, did Mary escape, or did only one version of Mary escape? That's where the theory starts. So let's start with the first theory, is that the Backrooms is a living memory machine, which we all know. Clark repeatedly describes the Backrooms as a place that remembers things incorrectly. Rooms, people, experiences are copied over and over until they become warped versions of the original. Under this reading, the Backrooms aren't necessarily evil. It's trying to recreate reality, and it cannot do it perfectly. The still life entities are failed copies. Pirate Clark isn't just a monster, he's what happens when the Backrooms try to reconstruct Clark's identity and gets it horribly wrong. The final shot suggests Mary's process has already begun with her. This interpretation turns the film kind of into a cosmic horror story about memory itself. Every recollection becomes less accurate, and eventually reality becomes a photocopy of a photocopy. So that's kind of one of the things. How does that sit with you? Not necessarily about the ending, but just kind of the overall vibe.
I agree with it to a point. So the way I see the Backrooms as described by Kane is just how you have gravity and anti-gravity and matter and antimatter. You have reality and anti-reality. And I think it's less of a living memory machine as it is just the exact mirror inverse of our reality. Our reality, as we understand it, follows the laws of physics, and it's a three-dimensional space. 4 if you include time, which sort of, but that's a whole other rabbit hole to get into. Whereas you go to the Backrooms, and the only reason things change is because something enters its orbit, and it just goes this until it's done with it. So I think it's less of like a cosmic living memory machine, more of it's just the exact inverse of us. And just like any paradox, when you take the one person and you put them next to the same person from a different point in time, bad shit happens. You go from reality into anti-reality, and you start interacting with the things that are you, bad shit fucking happens.
Well, and that one scene especially fucked me up because when Mary is back there trying to rescue Clark, and inevitably he gets demolished by himself as Pirate Clark, she thinks she escapes the Backrooms because she goes into the basement of the furniture store. And I was like, wait a second, the tape on the door is not behind her. And then she runs upstairs and she sees that there's just a brick wall in front of the doors, and I'm like, okay, so has the Backrooms recreated the entire furniture store already? How is this possible? Because
see, I think where I'm getting at is it was already there.
Fuck,
like
shit.
Because it existed at one point in reality, it now exists forever in anti-reality. It's not the fact that you go in it that you get copied. It's that when you go in it, the imaging of what you are starts happening, and it can then change things. Like, you have to interact with it for the changes to happen. But if it's just left there, the things that are there are the things that are there.
Oh God, and those things are horrifying too. I remember when when he walks into the room with the Christmas tree, that was one of the stuff of nightmares, because I didn't know, or I hadn't read about other people being in the Backrooms outside of them finding that body in one of the segments that Kane did. But he comes around the Christmas tree, and then this little guy in a fucking wheelchair turns on a light. This woman approaches him. I was like, oh, there are people down here. Holy shit. That was complete new information for me. And then he, I guess, befriends them, although they just kind of sit around and do nothing. And just watching Clark's descent into obsession, compulsion, and utter, I mean, he's manic by the end of it. And another thing that kind of comes full circle is they have that conversation as, you know, Clark's playing Clark and Mary's playing his wife. And then by the end of it, he wants to recreate that same thing. But then Mary's like, no, I'm done with this. And he's like, stay in character, stay in character. That scene hit so hard because I was like, this is the most unfucked version of what we saw in the beginning playing over again in a space that I want to get out of immediately.
It was wildly uncomfortable.
Wildly uncomfortable.
Because it lingers for just long enough to where it gives you that like microsecond to think about what actually just happened.
Yeah.
And the revelation that you as a viewer get into this, what you thought was an unreliable narrator, but it turns out it wasn't necessarily, he wasn't unreliable intentionally.
Right.
He's just fucked up.
Yeah.
And he's been fucked up for years.
For years. His wife kicked him out of the house. He is a drunk. He is sleeping at the furniture store. His life is in shambles. And I think that's what pushes him to become so obsessed with this place, because somehow it weirdly gives his life meaning to try and put together what this is.
Sleeping at a furniture store, I could do that for a little while.
Sure.
Like different bed every night of the week for
Why not?
2-3 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that sounds chill as hell.
Yeah, right. That does sound pretty chill until the TV stops working. The only really
or the TV
issue
starts
I had,
talking.
Yeah, fuck that. Then I'm out. I'd say the only thing, the issue I say with quotes that I had with this movie, just because coming from someone who was an alcoholic, it really made me sad to see that Clark was still drinking, because you'd think getting kicked out of your own house, not seeing your wife and stuff like that would make you change. So. I mean, it is what it is, but it made
you got to remember, he's 20 years old. He can't even legally drink yet.
No. I know. Trust me. I know. But so from my point of view, I was like, it would have been really nice if he. But then again, at the same time, that's kind of needed, because that's why he can't go home, is because he's still drinking. And as an and like I said, as a former alcoholic, I mean, I guess you're technically never an alcoholic, but I don't drink anymore. It's been almost 2 years. I can also see him drinking as a fuck you to her. Like, I'm still going to do what I want, because I did that for the longest time. I would always, drink behind my wife's back.
His actions, for the most part, are pretty spiteful.
Yeah.
Like, he enlists his only other worker and her boyfriend to go film the Backrooms to spitefully prove his therapist wrong. Like, nothing in this movie is done out of good intention. I mean, you can argue maybe the therapist, but if you wasn't paying her, she wouldn't listen.
Right.
So
exactly.
It's only until he goes like super mega crazy that she's like, oh, I should probably take a more active role in what's going on. The things that he has been talking to me about for at least weeks.
Yeah, because he comes in there with that diagram and the energy from the first scene with him and the therapist and the second scene where he comes back with that map, he is like a completely different version of himself, which almost makes me feel like, did the Backrooms replicate him and he doesn't? I can't even get into it.
No, I think what it is for the first time in who knows how long, he feels a sense of like true and pure like purpose.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
I have found this thing. Nobody else knows about it.
And
I live in modern times. I am an explorer. I am an adventurer. People are going to write about me when I tell them this. And then he starts telling people, and they're like, "You're fucking crazy, dude."
Yeah,
and like, I'm not going to attempt to pronounce this man's name because I've never heard it pronounced out loud.
Yeah, I haven't either.
But I am going to say he deserves so many awards for this movie. Like, not many actors can get away with just face acting, pretty much. Like, don't get me wrong, his line delivery every time he has one is stellar.
Absolutely.
But the acting that he does on his face and the ability for him to show with his eyes, I am now processing these events that are in front of me, is wild to me. Just watching his face acting through this movie, I was like, damn. Yeah, I'm confused too, bud. Or, oh no, like I totally understand where you're going. Like, yes, let's lure this girl into the bathroom. Like,
That was the most fucked up part of the movie to me, because his obsession and his compulsion leads him to prove his therapist wrong. He's like, I'm going to get footage and you're going to owe me a big fucking apology. So it's the 90s. He doesn't have a camera. So he enlists the only person that he knows with a camera to help, because he helped him film his. But by the way, can I say that fucking infomercial he did where he's hopping around on a peg leg and you can see his leg poking out? I was the only goddamn person in the theater like yucking it up. I was like, this.
Oh no, so was I.
Okay.
But for the briefest of moments, I was yucking it up for a completely different reason.
Okay.
Until I realized it was a whole pirate getup. Because the way I witnessed this scene happen is I am scanning from bottom to top of screen.
Right.
And I am seeing with a man with his leg thrown back in what looks like a boot cast situation. And I thought somehow, some way, Kane Parsons knew deep Orlando lore with Appliance Direct. And in this tiny Virginia theater, I started losing my mind, because I was like, if this happens, if this is what I think it is, Kane Parsons is a national fucking hero. But I was wrong, and it was a whole pirate getup, and it was still hilarious. There was a good bit of chuckles in the theater that we were in. So everybody got like the bit. It was a good bit.
Did.
And it's a better bit than fucking Furniture Saloon or whatever that fuck ass guy is. Fuck that guy.
His competition. But yeah, so I was laughing hysterically, because I'm looking around, I'm like, do people not know what's funny anymore, or am I just amused by dumb shit? Maybe some of column A, some of column B. But my point behind all of that is he uses the guy who filmed that to film the Backrooms, and not only film the Backrooms, but I don't know if he makes him. I think the guy volunteers to go down that steep corridor.
No, he makes him.
Yeah, so it's like, you're going to make this guy go down into a place that he doesn't know, and then that guy gets just entirely fucked up. When the camera rolls down and falls, perfectly on the angle as they all do in movies, and he's just getting pulled in through the door with the blood trail, I was like, oh, no, this is bad. And then we don't really see what happens to his girlfriend, but we do see her head in the fridge at the end of the movie, so clearly she did not make it and lost her head. But yeah, the only two people that he pretty much used as kind of collateral damage in a way. I don't know if it was intentional, but he wasn't going to be the one to risk going down there and not being able to get back up. So it just goes to further prove the obsession and compulsion he has with wanting to explore this, but not necessarily wanting to take some of the risks that come with this territory, because he wants to be the one to discover all of this. And by the end of it, I don't think he gets the proof, because the entity that we see pick up the camera, the thing picks up the camera and then it just cuts. So we have no idea really what happens to that footage. It's just solely used for the purpose of the movie. So, but yeah, I really like that scene when he sets the camera down and he's trying to find, I think her name was Kat, and he's like, how are you seeing me? She's like, there's glass in front of me. He's like, there's a wall in front of me, just going to further prove how fucked the Backrooms are. And then when the camera lifted, I tensed up. I was like, ooh, this isn't going to be good. So we can only assume that was some version of the pirate Clark that we would later see. I didn't think we were going to get a monster like that, to be quite honest. I really was expecting the life form. But
he did hint heavily that there was going to be something. He kept joking. Like with the guy that played the hybrid in Romulus.
Okay.
He was set to be the entity, or that's what it was speculated. And Kane kept saying, "Oh yeah, we're totally gonna have him. He's gonna be Mr. Backrooms." Like, so he kept hinting and like joking, like, "Oh yeah, there'll be a monster." Wink, like saying, "Oh, we're gonna have something. but I'm not going to tell you what it's going to be, but it's not going to be that. But there was a lot of wink, wink, nudge, nudge around that when he was doing interviews.
Okay, I definitely missed that, but I can tell you this: I was not expecting what we got, and it was the Thing of Nightmares, especially when it's just chasing Mary, and it's coming around the corner, and it's just kind of lingering there. It's like kind of moving, but it's not human enough to understand how a human moves. Oh God, it was terrifying. And then she eventually uses the concrete handprint to smash him in the face enough to get away through that very narrow corridor. What really irritates me, though, about the promotion for this video for the movie is that most of the posters are her in that hallway. I'm like, but this is Clark's story, right? Is it not?
She's been in a few things on Apple TV in the past few years, so she's
more recognizable, maybe.
Yeah, she might be a arguably more recognizable and, for the sake of marketing, more attractive face to have on promotional stuff.
Maybe. Okay.
But it's also it's the fucking screaming Drew Barrymore thing. Have her in there for the first scene, kill her off, move on.
And then I think really the last thing, because I had a lot of notes, but it's impossible to get to all of these. One thing I want to mention specifically about the movie that I really enjoyed is how the movie is basically split into two sections. You're following Clark for most of the movie, and then eventually it becomes a rescue mission where Mary's like, all right, I gotta figure out, because he leaves that message, that very, very what's the word I'm looking for? Aloof message where he's like, I've opened the window, I'm not coming back. And she's like, oh, fuck, Jesus Christ. All right, I got to get involved. So I really love that split of following Clark and his obsession, which leads him to end up staying in the back rooms, and then Mary's kind of rescue mission that she goes down in there to find them, because by the end of the movie, Clark is dead. And Mary is the one that the final shot stays on. So it's a really interesting dynamic to have your main character be present for the first 45 minutes of the movie, and then the back half is just our other main character and her experience with the Backrooms. I thought that was it kept it from getting stale. You know what I mean? Like, it was a really good
And if you really want to break it down, it's technically like a 4-parter, because you have Clark and the therapist in the beginning, where it's just pretty much just turmoil. Then they split. Clark goes to his B-side, which is exploring the backrooms, getting caught, and dying. Then you have the section B of the therapist, where she's going in trying to rescue Clark, and then you get the end, which essentially neither of them are involved in.
That's true. So who's the real villain here? You know what I mean? Is it Async?
Well, Async is the real villain, because without their magnets, it would have happened in the first place.
I guess that's true. Yeah. Man, it is a truly incredible movie that captures the Backrooms perfectly. I know there were some complaints that they wish it was all Blender and all that stuff, but I really loved getting those.
It's just not practical to do it that way.
It's not.
And have the caliber of acting that it needed to be successful. I feel like if they would have cut any dialogue out of that movie that got left it, because I guarantee you they cut a shitload of dialogue out of that movie in the first place.
Yeah.
But if they would have cut out any more dialogue, the movie would have suffered, because out of the hour and 45-minute movie, there is maybe 7 minutes of dialogue.
Yeah, there's not a lot, to be quite honest, and the movie thrives on the fear of the unknown, the mystery of what's back there, discovering something that might be what was the phrase you used earlier? One of the creatures that could be harmful. There's harmless creatures back there, and then there's creatures with ill intent back there. And I desperately, I don't want an explanation. I really don't. But clearly, Pirate Clark and regular Clark came to some sort of agreement because he was trying to talk to him at one point and it's like, hey, this is Mary, she's a friend, and he didn't like that and ends up killing Clark. So it's like there's this whole section of movie we don't get to see where Pirate Clark and regular Clark are interacting with each other and everything's fine. And I love too, there's a small bit of dialogue he says when he's trying to say Mary's a friend. He says, we don't need to change. It's okay. We can stay here. And I was like, oh, they're like symbiotic at this point. It's almost like they're sharing one brain or something. It's very
it's the paradoxical nature of going from reality to anti-reality.
Yeah.
Bad shit starts happening. You know, you don't fuck your mom and you start disappearing. So like maybe it's something like that. Maybe you stay around your anti-reality counterpart for so long that the two corporeal forms start like
sinking
intermingling on a quantum level. I don't fucking know.
I don't know. It's beyond. It's a place that's beyond comprehension, that doesn't need explanation. It's such a fascinating lore, whatever you want to call it. It is such a fascinating thing that humans have created, and it's never ending apparently. And like, there's so much mystery to it, and I'm okay with that. It's a place that doesn't need to make sense, because that's exactly the whole fucking point of it. Nothing makes sense here. Everything is on the table. I'm so game for that. I don't need an explanation. And even the simple explanation of how Async got into the Backrooms is good at, like, it works. It feels natural, weirdly enough. And then, their whole point is trying to explore it.
No detail is ever lingered upon. Like, right. They'll be like, all right, here's the Backrooms. All right, cool. Let's go into the Backrooms now. But wait, what about, no. Just go into the Backrooms. Like, or, okay, but Async is doing this thing because why? Oh, because they wanted infinite storage space. All right, but what was the problem that, no. They just wanted more storage space.
Yeah, they wanted more storage space, residential
space.
And
that's that.
That's all they were trying to do. And then they fucked up reality in an unfuckable way, if that's even a word. I don't know. This whole theory, this whole place is this mystery, and I love it. I guess my closing thought here that I wrote down is I don't think the Backrooms is really asking what would happen if you fell into another dimension. I feel like it's asking what happens when you spend so much time wandering through dead spaces, whether it's physical, emotional, or digital, that you forget where you're actually trying to go. The horror isn't getting lost in the Backrooms. The horror is realizing you've been living in them all along. That is my closing thing I did. So that's what I have to say.
One big metaphor for go outside and touch fucking grass. Get off the internet, go outside, look at the sun.
As I go right after this episode to the levels and just start diving in and hyper fixating on no, I don't have time for that. I've got too much I got too much other shit going on right now.
Bro, I'm telling you, pick one level and give it a read, and you're gonna be like,
that's enough.
Okay.
That's enough. That's enough information. So Kane Parsons, man, between you and Curry Barker, it is exciting to be
and
here.
And fucking Markiplier too with Iron Lung.
Oh yeah,
we've got all these young dudes just killing it. And so Jessica's litmus test for horror movies in 2026.
Okay.
Is it will get a baseline approval or denial based on, is it something I've heard before or not? And so far, Backrooms and Obsession have been like, well, never heard that before.
Nope. 100% right. And I do believe the Backrooms passes the litmus test with flying colors. I don't think Obsession
does.
Oh, yeah,
for sure.
I don't think Obsession does.
Obsession 100% does. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I guess it does. Okay. So, yeah, it's very exciting to be here at the ground floor with Kreger. I really hope Ari Aster returns to form. Kane Parsons, Curry Barker, Mark, I almost said Mark Duplass. No, he's been around for a while. Markiplier, And I don't think I have ever been more hopeful for the future of horror as I am right now, because it's already been a banger year so far, and we're not even halfway. We're just about halfway through. But horror is in good hands right now. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. Plus, we still have Jordan Peele's untitled movie that is coming out at some point. We have Zach Kreger's Resident Evil releasing in August. We have Evil Dead Burn in July, which, by the way, that's going to be one we cover. July and August are covered for YouTube reviews, and then once we get towards the
I am so like you said Evil Dead Burn, and I started shaking.
Yeah,
like
I'm goosebumps,
especially with that extended trailer that they have in theaters right now.
I didn't even. I have not watched it. I will not watch it. I will not. I want to go in as blind as possible to this shit,
because even if they don't show it in full form like they imply they're going to in the trailer,
okay,
it's still going to be graphically unsettling. Like,
yeah, the director
just some of the kills that they like cut away from real quick. I'm like, okay, you either have to leave this cutaway in the full movie, or else it's just going to be a bloodbath, no matter how you slice it.
Right.
But it's it's gonna be crazy.
I have a feeling it's gonna be insane, and I might have to rework the structure of all of my Evil Dead ratings. But the director did say that there was one scene that was so graphic, not necessarily gory, but just bloody, but like it was so graphic, much like Obsession with the head smashing. He had to cut some of the scene to avoid an NC-17 rating. So I'm like, it's like the third movie this year that has had to be cut from an NC-17 to an R, that we will probably get like the full unrated version at some point. So it's
this is what happens when our generation finally got the reins to make movies. They're like, you want to know what's fucking wrong with us? We'll tell you what's wrong with us.
Yeah, this is exactly what happens when millennials start taking over horror movies. All of our trauma from the past is coming out, and it's very apparent. So a couple other notifications. That's not the word. I love how I don't edit any of this. So this is the truest form you'll see of me on the podcast, because in the audio version of the show, I edit out a lot of my stupidity. So this is full ADHD you get to see. But a couple other announcements here. We do have some guests planned for for YouTube videos. I am trying to fill up the back half of the year with some interviews. Thanks to Ryan Verrill over at the Disconnected, Someone's Favorite Productions, our generous host. He has a few people that will be releasing horror movies through his label Antenna that are horror movies that want to get promotion out about it. I've also watched a couple of really good indie movies lately, Gothic Slayers being one, Loner being another. There's a third one I can't think of right now, but I have been talking with them about being on an episode as well. So the back half of the year, there will be a episode of a new release, and ideally we will have interviews once a month as well with directors. So it'll be a lot of fun. I think that's all I've got for Backrooms, unless you have any closing thoughts. I don't even know how you would close a discussion on the Backrooms. It's never ending.
I'll close it with just a thought. If you are into surrealism and absurdism in any shape or form, if you like Salvador Dali paintings, if you, for whatever disgusting reason, like Saulo, you will love the headspace that this movie puts you in.
That is correct. And if you are, I would almost say, if you haven't seen any of the YouTube stuff, I would almost say just go into the movie blind and then go back.
As blind as you can.
Yeah.
But I will say, having a slight knowledge going into it, and not that anybody will be asking you questions, but I went with my lovely partner, Jessica, and it wasn't a super packed out theater. So every now and again, she would nudge me and be like, yo, what the fuck? And I'd be like, all right, so with my baseline knowledge, blah, 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 blah. So like having an established knowledge of it does make you feel even if it's a fictitious feeling, it does make you feel a little bit better than everyone else in the theater.
All right, let me change what I'm going to say then. At least go watch the Backrooms found footage first installment, and then go watch the movie, and then dive into all the other shit. So that way,
get at least a baseline knowledge.
There you go.
And then after you do all that, after all of that is complete, then you can go to my side of things and start reading the fan wikis.
Oh man, what a fucking time! I have really enjoyed
this podcast was almost as long as the movie.
I know. Our YouTube episodes are somehow always longer because I have no format and we just fucking go with it. So that's gonna do it for this one, guys. Be sure to check out the regular show. I just dropped Godzilla King of the Monsters at 3 p.m. today. Which is this isn't gonna make sense because I'm posting this in a couple of days, but Kaijun is coming to a close. July, we are going to be doing Lycanthrope's Howl, so it'll be all werewolf movies and stuff like that. So be sure to check out the regular show in addition to this. Definitely
Damn
subscribe.
You, Robert Eggers, for releasing on Christmas and not in July.
Dude, I know. I was like, I'll just have to cover it next year. It's fine. So yeah, make sure to follow us on all forms of social media. We are pretty much everywhere. Check out the show. The audio version is great as well. We have themes and all that stuff. And until next episode you listen to, stay tuned and
stay spooky.